everybody, and welcome to the Everything Voiceover Podcast. My name is Justin D. Torres. The Everything Voiceover Podcast is brought to you by the Voice Realm, where only professional voice actors are listed. Today we're going to be talking about this concept that people keep talking about is what it takes to bypass pay-to-play sites. First of all, the reason why I'm doing this is that I've heard a lot about it. People are like, I hate pay-to-play sites. You got to pass it. You got to go out and market for yourself. You got to go out and don't use pay-to-play sites anymore. And though it sounds like this garden of opportunity that's so easy that everyone does, and that suddenly when you just go out and reach out to people, everyone will just pluck you and pay you hundreds upon hundreds of dollars just because you want to do voiceover jobs, it's kind of a lie, and that's not how it really is. Jumping into a non-pay-to-play and marketing for yourself venture is both extremely difficult and has numerous prerequisites in order to take on that huge monster that is the rest of the world. When I tell people that pay-to-play is for the lazy voiceover artist, I 100% believe in my words when I say that. It is easier to be on a pay-to-play site than it is to do all this other stuff. As much as people are like, yeah, just don't use pay-to-play sites. It's easy for them to say, but it's much harder when you think about the actual things that it requires to do it. And a lot of these requisites are just, having a fully functional business. But before we get started, I have to say, as I always do, that there are two paths into voiceover: the home studio and the in-studio. Home studio being that you have a studio and that it's got all you are able to produce audio, fully produce audio, and have all the necessary skills to produce audiobooks and produce regular books and produce e-learning and all that. You have everything ready to go. In-studio is when you get called in by agents into studios to record. Usually you get called in to auditions, and then you go back home, and then you get called later. They're like, oh yeah, we want you for Friday. We're going to hire you for this. Then you go in and you record with a director. So those are the two different versions of the home studio and the in-studio actor, and a lot of the best of us do both of them at the same time. But if you're just starting out, you need to know the difference between the two. So let's start with the in-studio requirements, in-studio prerequisites. If you're doing in-studio, guess what? You're bypassing pay-to-play sites. So pat yourself on the back. You are not using pay-to-play sites. You are using agents, physical agents, people who are there. The requisites for an in-studio in-studio actor to bypass pay-to-play sites is that, number one, you have to have skill. You have to be able to have the skill and some sort of training in acting and voiceover. Now, maybe skill could be defined as a uniqueness. Maybe you have a specific type of accent that nobody else has. Maybe you have different languages. I know plenty of people who just know like 3 different languages, and they get booked all the time by in-studio agents or casting directors. They get sent down. I'm up here in New York City, and they just do all that stuff. They just do a lot of Spanish language, or they do Egyptian, or they do Farsi in that particular thing. They just go in and do that. So, but you do have to have at least the skill of acting, or at least voice acting, just basic skills. And, it may come really easy to some people. And to other people, it may take years to get a certain type of feel for what your voice is. So you could be the princess of the ball and get everything right off the bat and not have to take that many classes. Or you could be someone who's like, I have to learn this skill, and you have to start taking classes. So number one, you need skill. Number two, you have to be within range of an agent and a studio to be sent to. They'll send you out for auditions. You have to go take the subway, or you have to go drive your car all the way into San Francisco, which I had to do to go to auditions, which was not feasible for me. I lived in Santa Clara, which was an hour and a half away. And when someone was like, can you come in for an audition? I fully realized, knowing that my gas was costing about $20 for every trip, that going in for auditions was not, I shouldn't be trying that. You will be sent into studios to record with casting directors and clients. So you need to be within range of a studio and agent, and not like crazy far away, because you don't want to waste money. You may only get a certain amount of auditions per month, and you may get a lot. So make sure you're not 3 hours away. And another in-studio prerequisite might be a demo. And I say this with a maybe to it, because I've known plenty of people who didn't have a demo and got a voiceover agent. I know that this does happen. It's not a prerequisite. I know people, I personally was signed while telling my agent that I was in the process of getting a demo done. I have also not, now this is a big thing, I have not met a single person who has gotten a high quality agent through submissions alone. Okay? I have not heard of a single person who got an agent at CESD by just emailing CESD and not having any kind of in whatsoever. At least not a big agent. The smaller agencies, maybe non-union agencies, that might be a little bit different. But I have never heard of a single person who has just had like a demo done from somewhere in Texas, coming up to New York, just tossing it out, and then suddenly someone at CSD or Abrams or Innovative was like, yeah, sign them right now. Never happened. I do not think it does happen. This, prove me wrong, go out and do it, kill it. Prove me wrong, go ahead and win the day. But I can tell you right now that I do not think that happens. And that's it. Those skill, be within a range of an agent in the studio to be sent to, and demo, possibly. And then you've got no pay-to-play sites. You have bypassed pay-to-play sites entirely. Congratulate yourself, pat yourself on the back, and that's the way to go. Unfortunately, the majority of the problems of 90%, 99% of new voiceover actors getting their foot in the door to the gatekeepers of agents and casting directors. If you want to learn how to do that, check out the podcast on getting an agent. We've got a couple of things up there. Got a couple of articles out at everythingvoiceover.com to be able to help you out with that. Mostly it's just a networking thing, getting to know the right people. But like I said, this is the podcast for what it takes to bypass pay-to-play sites. So guess what? In-studio actors, you're bypassing pay-to-play sites. Pat yourself on the back. You don't have to worry about all the judgment that happens with pay-to-play sites. Now it would be a good time to say that the Everything Voiceover podcast is brought to you by the Voice Realm, where only professional voice actors are listed. Now we go on to the home studio prerequisites. Now this means that you have a microphone at home and you're ready to go ahead and reach out to not agents, but to reach out to actual creative directors, instructional designers, e-learning companies. You're reaching out to other agencies that are able to represent you not in person. You're reaching out to publishers. You're reaching out to video production companies. These are the people you're going to be reaching out to as a home studio voiceover, essentially a voiceover service, essentially a voiceover studio. So here are the home studio requirements for people who want to bypass pay-to-play sites as a home studio voiceover actor. Number one, you have to have a comparable home studio. If your studio is subpar, non-professional, and cheap, you may be able to convince a company to use you. If you're good with marketing and if you've got some good website stuff, you might be able to let them use you. But eventually, when it comes to like the higher end stuff, you may be replaced by someone with a better studio. If you ever hear bad voiceover out there, it does work. It does. Some people know where it is. You could always say like you see a lawyer commercial on TV with a horrible voiceover. You might be able to be like, hey, I've got my Raspberry here. I love Raspberry. I'm using it right now. I could do that. And you might be able to convince them to pay you a certain amount of money to do that. And that's possible, but you have to have a comparable studio. If you're going to the low-end studios have a tendency to get the low-end jobs, and the higher-end studios have a tendency to get better jobs. And if you want to get jobs that are comparable to the minimum or like the mid-range price of pay-to-play sites, then you should at least have a studio to be able to win those mid-range pay-to-play site jobs. Meaning, and I'm going to reiterate this, that if you can get a job on, say, voices.com or on Voice123, that's a, say, $300 job, and you get that, once a month, a $300 job, then you can probably say that your studio is worthy of $300 jobs from other companies. Very simple. If you're only getting jobs that are $150 jobs in pay-to-play sites, then you know that your voiceover studio, or at least your quality of what you're putting out there, is only good enough for the $50 to $100 range. That's not a guarantee. You could probably go out there and get thousands upon thousands of dollars. I'm just saying what pay-to-play sites are useful for is to figure out the market of what you do well and how your studio chalks up to everyone else's studio. So the first one is the studio. Number 2 is skill, basic, same as the other in-studio prerequisites. You have to skill, similar to the other one, you have to know the craft of voiceover through either practice, classes, jobs, or just, a natural gift. You should sound like someone who is good at voiceover, who knows what they're doing, who's able to be conversational, or who just knows a different language. I mean, those all work as well. Number 3, and then this is where we're starting to get different with the in-studio, is that you have to have a business skill. At a very baseline, you should be able to know how to invoice clients, be able to communicate your requirements, price, and ability to clients, and deal with clients, and be able to gauge what they need and when they need it, and be able to provide a relatively decent customer service. So you're going to do all the business aspects as the one person. So not only are you just, all that other stuff was being like having this items and the equipment, having the actor you love, now you're a business person as well. Number 4, you have to have a basic editing audio skill / file skills. You should be able to produce audio, be able to produce an entire job, be able to take the scripts, read the scripts, edit the scripts, and then be able to edit them later and not have it be like destroy your life. You should be able to go back into the editing system and take out a little bit and put something back in there to fix it, You also have to have some way to get the client the files and access it months after the fact and have the files available on your hard drive or multiple hard drives or in the cloud to be able to get it done. Now, number 5. Now, the first one was home studio. Second one was skill. So number 3 is business skill, and then basic audio editing / file storage and skills. Those for computing skills. Number 5. Now here is where we start going. Here's where we start going away from the pay-to-play sites. These are the difference. This is what it takes to bypass the pay-to-play sites. Is you need a way to get in touch with new clients, whether by marketing campaigns, flyers, websites, Facebook, word of mouth, cold calling. You need to have some way to get in touch with new clients. It could be as simple as email. It could be simple as knowing friends and accessing your family. That could be a way to get in touch with new clients. You just need something. Pay-to-play has made its entire company business model, whatever you have it, based on the fact that they are the way to get in touch with clients for you. This is it. This is the way you bypass. If you were on a pay-to-play site, you would have to have the other home studio prerequisites, meaning you would have to have a home studio, the skill, the business skill, the editing skills, all 1 through 4 you would have to have for a pay-to-play site. You probably, for Voices.com, you wouldn't have to know so much of the business stuff. But if you were in Voice 123, you would have to know the business stuff because you wouldn't have to invoice clients. You would have to be able to communicate your requirements and that stuff. That's all skills that you would have if you were on the pay-to-play site. Now we're getting into the level where what it takes if you don't want to be on the pay-to-play site. Okay? So you got to be able to get in touch with new clients somehow. So this is your replacement for pay-to-play. This is your bypass. And the last one is that you have to have, number 6, is you have to have a way to show what you offer to the clients. This could be a demo, a website, a reel, a Fiverr account, a bunch of testimonials. This could be anything. So that after you've figured out a way to get in touch with people that you want to work with, you need to show them some kind of example of what you offer. It's very simple. It could also be your example of way to show what you offer to clients is you record their commercial again and you put it out to them. That's a way to do it, But you have to have some way to show what you offer to those specific clients. Now, so those are the 2 things. So you've got your studio, you've got your business skill, you've got your editing, you've got your regular skill of acting, and then if you want to bypass, you got to have all those things. And then you got to have a way to get in touch with new clients, and you've got to be able to show what the client will show you what you offer. Now, this is not even touching upon the basic set of standards of quality. This is not touching upon how who's good and who's bad, and you could have all that. And if you're not up to par, it won't even matter. Your entire set would be flawed if you have low quality, if you're just not good at what you do, if you're not a very good voiceover artist. So, as it is nice to say, I'm bypassing all pay-to-play sites. It's usually said by people who are pretty successful and have mastered at least those first 4 things. Studio skill, biz skill, basic audio production skills. If you're uncomfortable with any of those 4 things, those are the top 4 things. If you're uncomfortable, you've never done a job or never even recorded an audition, then don't take these stupid people's opinions, because they're only going by their own section, because it's obvious that they're like, yeah, I've got a fully functional site. I know how to do voiceover. Let's go out and reach people. Well, the person's listening to it needs to realize that you have to be kind of along their level, not exactly their level, but don't take their opinion if you're not at that level, you know? Because if you don't have the product, you shouldn't be marketing. You shouldn't be doing those things. Let me give you an analogy. Let's say if I wanted to sell cookies. Now, I've made cookies before. I've never sold them. I've watched my mom do it. I've done it a few times myself. No big deal. I haven't sold cookies before, but making them can't be that hard. A lot of people do it. I've seen this guy do it. He's made cookies before. I just got to reach out to a couple of people, Pay-to-play sites are places where you send free mini samples of cookies, and then someone's like, I'll buy a dozen. And then you have to lose a little money to the pay-to-play site to figure out because they found the person to buy your cookies, And let's say you sold 1,000 cookies on this pay-to-play site. You're at least, in the very least, sure that you make a decent cookie. People want it. People have bought those cookies. Without that pay-to-play site to figure out whether your product is good, you're just sending out samples and hoping. Will you be the next Mrs. Fields? Maybe. But if I was a betting man and I saw a person who sold 2,000 cookies at a pay-to-play site, they might be a safer bet to sell, to get closer to the next Mrs. Fields than the person who's never sold a single cookie before. Right? Now, to give you another analogy, the point is, pay-to-play is the shallow end of the pool. It's the easy place. You wander in. You figure out if you're good at it. You try and get better at it. You start to tread water. You figure out, if it works and how to swim. Bypassing them is just jumping into the deep end. You can jump right in, but you need to learn how to swim pretty darn quickly. Or it's going to get really overwhelming and then you're just going to get out of the pool. Okay, no more analogies. Thank you guys so much for listening. My name is Justin D. Torres. This is the Everything Voiceover Podcast. The Everything Voiceover Podcast is brought to you by the Voice Realm, where only professional voice actors are listed. Thank you guys so much for listening. Head on over to everythingvoiceover.com and check out our website. Take care.